And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. You know, we the people are supposed to have the power in America. That's why the first three words of the Constitution are we the people. It's like we're in charge. We're establishing this for us. That was the idea of the founders, and it has been taken from us. Since the Reagan Revolution, we've become the land of kings, warlords, and theocrats. Let me explain. As Thomas Jefferson pointed out, from the founding of Samaria 7,000 years ago until 1776, one of three types of people and groups pretty much ruled everyone else. They were the hereditary kings, the violent warlords, or the theocrats. And they justified these forms of tyranny by saying that the people could not rule themselves. Instead, they had to be ruled by somebody else. One of the biggest believers in this was Thomas Hobbes. Back in 1634 in Leviathan, he said, humans are by nature evil, and that life without the iron fist of church or state would be, quote, war of every man against every man, resulting in a society where life is poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Kings, warlords, and theocrats had rights, and they granted privileges to the people. Jefferson and the revolutionaries of 1776 came along and flipped this power structure on its head. We the people, they said, are in charge of ruling. We don't need no kings. We don't need no theocrats. We don't need, theocracy is a dangerous and flawed system. And we must be so vigilant about warlords arising in America that our Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, read it yourself with your own eyes. Our Constitution explicitly says that the Army of the United States cannot exist any longer than 2 years without oversight and renewed appropriation from Congress. When Jefferson took power from the kings and the warlords and the theocrats and gave it to the people, he said, I know of no safe depository of the ultimate powers of the society but the people themselves. About theocracy, Jefferson told Alexander von Humboldt that, quote, history, I believe, furnishes no example of a priest-ridden people maintaining a free civil government. This marks the lowest grade of ignorance of which their civil as well as religious leaders will always avail themselves for their own purposes. End of quote. So thanks to Jefferson and our founding fathers, the power structure that existed for thousands of years, theocrats, kings, warlords on the top, people on the bottom, was flipped upside down so that the people had rights and could decide which privileges they would give to the hereditary kings, warlords, and would-be theocrats. This new power structure worked pretty good for about 200 years. People in charge, rich people, doing what the rest of us say. Got to pay 91% income tax, right? Theocrats, the churches, they didn't even have basically an income tax exemption until the 60s. But beginning in 1981 with the Reagan Revolution, the hereditary kings, the violent warlords, and I know you're scratching your head right now going, the violent warlords? I'll get to it. The hereditary kings, the violent warlords, and the theocrats began reclaiming the power that they once had in other lands. They began reclaiming it here. Well, the theocrats had it in Massachusetts at the founding of this country. From the beginning of the Pilgrims until the country was founded. But now these three groups, they're making deals with each other to suppress the power of we the people, to take away our rights. So here's who they are. Today's hereditary kings are the wealthy elite, the top 1% of Americans who control a staggering 43% of our nation's wealth. And they continually fight inheritance taxes so their children can take over their wealth and maintain their dynasties. These are hereditary kingdoms or royal families, right? Meanwhile, America's modern-day hereditary kings are conspiring with today's theocrats. Megachurches, particularly in the South, have become major power centers and organizing forces for the hereditary kings to spread their ideas and messages and to grow their dynasties. For example, prosperity theology teaches that you are rich because God made you that way. Well, If that's the case, logical flip side, if you're poor, God made you that way. This is how the Theocrats justify the existence of the plutocrats and the poor people. But even with the help of the Theocrats, the hereditary kings couldn't continue to get richer and richer and richer without the help of the violent warlords, which we refer to today as the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex takes up nearly half of the entire U.S. budget every year, with much of it being privatized, and the profits, therefore, going to the billionaires, also known as the hereditary kings, and their defense corporations. You see how this is coming together? The Founding Fathers never envisioned this return to the brute and dictatorial power structure that basically for 7,000 years dominated the globe, stripping rights from people and giving them to kings and warlords and theocrats. More importantly, it's fundamentally undemocratic. We are on the verge of some really serious decisions that we need to make here in this country about a return to the core values that this nation was built on. Do we break up these hereditary ruling families by aggressively establishing and enforcing inheritance taxes on great wealth? Do we break up the theocracy by taking away tax-exempt status of churches and doing away with government subsidies? And do we break up the out-of-control military-industrial complex? I mean, we could do it. Right? Increase transparency, shut down the revolving door here in Washington, D.C., enforce the Sherman Antitrust Act, and all privatization of traditional government functions? I think we should. I think that kings, warlords, and theocrats, the three great threats to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness identified by Thomas Jefferson 250 years ago, I think these three groups have no place in America. We need to give them the boot. We need to take back our rights and put power back in the hands of people. If America is to survive as America, think about this. If we are to survive as the nation that we were envisioned as, now, obviously not the nation that we started out as. Right? We had slavery, we had disenfranchisement of women. It was far from perfect. But the vision was clearly articulated. If America is to survive as a we the people nation, as opposed to me the rich guy, we the people, then we the people have to stand up and restore the core values that Jefferson and the founders put into place. We have to say enough already. The Walton family, 6 people, control more wealth than a third of the entire country of the United States. You can be rich and pass it down to your children, but a third of the wealth of the entire country? At what point do you say enough is enough? We have this nobillionaires.com website. Let's place 100% tax on all wealth, not income, wealth, above $1 billion. You can be a billionaire in real terms, but not a multi-billionaire, because it's not good for society. Because there is, I will grant you, an economy is not a total zero-sum game, but there is a certain amount of zero-sum to it. There is a certain amount of when Johnny takes all the toys, all the other kids don't have any toys. There is a certain amount of that. It's real.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So, and how do we go about doing that when the Supreme Court continuously, and tomorrow they're going to argue it again in McCutcheon, continuously says, oh yeah, the rich guys, sure, they have more power.